So I'm going to do a reading. There is a case going on right now. It actually happened 2 years ago, especially November 4th, 2018. And it's the case of Tamla Horsford. Now, some of you on Facebook may have seen this photo going around. She attended a football party with about seven friends that were African or white, and she was the only African American at the party. And then apparently there were three males who also showed up at the party. Now, I did read the Snopes article. There was a Snopes article, and they're kind of, they did a lot of homework. I understand that, but they're kind of dealing with very superficial stuff. Okay, I'm going to use tarot. Okay. But the autopsy, they're trying to say it's consistent with the fall. The whole thing is that she was found about 7:30 in the morning after they had this party, in the backyard, and everybody thinks she fell off the balcony. Did she fall though? Is the question. And that is why the family has an attorney, and it looks like they're going to reopen the case. The case is, with Black Lives Matter and various things coming up. It is kind of weird, that they shut down. I believe I read there was 300 hours devoted to the case and about 30 interviews. But when you think about it, 300 hours, it's a good amount of time, but it's not necessarily that much. But one of the things in the autopsy, yes, there were certain things like a broken neck and so forth, consistent with the fall. And I do believe that she fell off that balcony. But there was also a lot of abrasions and apparently some scratches. So, it does kind of make you wonder what's going on. Now, I'm using Deviant Moon to do this read. There is a particular card that I have seen when I've read missing persons and various things, if a body was disposed of and various stuff. But I felt it would be very fitting if this card showed up. If she was thrown off the balcony, I asked, the guides to go ahead and show this particular card. It fell into the environment, which really sets the tone for everything. And it is the Four of Cups. Now, as you can see in the Four of Cups, it does appear somebody is throwing a bloody cup over what appears to be a balcony. So this is the card that I kind of told the guides, if this is the case, that she didn't just fall on accident and she was actually thrown over the balcony, show me this card. And it does show in the environment position. So I do believe that, regardless what Snopes says, and other ones, that yes, there was something that happened, especially because at the foundation is the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is a betrayer. So I do feel that someone betrayed her that night, because that is what it is. And it's also a very sneaky one. When I can see someone maybe tries to cover evidence, they mess with evidence. And that is one of the things that the attorneys are saying, is that by the time the cops got there, the scene had been tampered with, the scene had been compromised. Okay, so that fits with what her attorneys are saying, because the Seven of Swords, that is what they do, is they will mess with certain evidence to cover their tracks. That is what the Seven of Swords does, is they are very sneaky, they cover their tracks, and they also betray someone. So I would say, especially just even if I set aside the rest of my cards here, those two cards combined right there do tell me, yes, she was betrayed that night. Yes, somebody threw her off that balcony, because look at this card. Look at this card. What are the odds that the card I wanted to show, if this was the case, shows up? And see how it's kind of a bloody cup? So I do feel that there was some kind of altercation or struggle. I also have in the past position, because to represent past, but is the Nine of Wands. Now, Nine of Wands, normally, this is a little bit depiction, but is a defense card. So normally when I see it, like I block, I defend myself. I notice, I did another layout prior, and I noticed this came up prior to in her position. So I do feel that she was trying to defend herself when whatever happened. Now, a couple things that showed up, which are very interesting. In the past layout, the lovers was at the crown, but my very first card is two of cups. So what that kind of makes me feel um, is that there may have been a case where there may have been an issue. There was a few men that were there. I know there was a lot of drinking, and she apparently had been drinking and everything. And hey, she, it's a party. I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not pinning anything on her. It's a party. People should be able to party at a house safely without driving around. And if they want to drink, that's fine. But I have a feeling, looking at the lovers and then the two of cups, and then I've got this betrayer. I'm kind of feeling like there may have been one of the males or something may have made a pass at her, because in the past position I've got the King of Swords. So I feel there may have potentially been a situation where, because it doesn't feel necessarily the women to me. It feels like a male is the one who threw her over the balcony. She probably was, she was probably a strong enough woman to the point, getting in an altercation with women and so forth. I don't feel this was planned. So if anybody has any kind of conspiracy theory that all of these people planned to hurt her or anything, I don't want you to think that. That does not feel planned to me. But this makes me feel, what happens when people drink this, that, they get crazy, they're out of their minds, and they're not thinking. So I'm more drawn to a male presence because I don't have a very strong female presence necessarily with these women. But I do feel it may have been a situation where somebody may have made a pass at her in some way as she was rejecting their advances, and that's where an altercation occurred. Now, another thing interesting that came up in two layouts is the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles showed up twice. So that's why I like to do two layouts sometimes, because if I have the same card showing up, that kind of makes me think something. But see how it looks like this person is paying somebody? So this kind of makes me feel that there may have been a situation, because notice everybody is being quiet about it. They've had some various different stories, but they're all kind of saying, I don't know what happened. I saw her, this time, that time. I have a feeling somebody may have paid some hush money, because notice this has come up twice. And another thing which shows is the Four of Pentacles. See how he's got the money now and he's just kind of running off. So it kind of makes me feel, and that's why I'm kind of drawn to a male verse, that there may have been something that happened during the party and then everything got crazy. Everybody's kind of drinking and stuff like that. But I feel like there was some kind of altercation. I definitely do feel this is not an accident, because seeing this, I do feel she was thrown over the balcony, but there was some kind of struggle. Now, was it intentional? I feel like maybe something in the heat of the moment was, because people, when they're drinking, they're not thinking and so forth. So I do feel there, something like that happened, but I have this kind of feeling, that there may have been some hush money involved. So they should maybe check, personally, I think the police should maybe check, was there any kind of financial, transfers, anybody withdraw? They should really check that out, because I have a feeling they might see something if they do. The only thing, I'm hoping the attorney is strong enough. I've got the Magician in a reverse position. When I'm reading court case, I like to see the Magician upright. He can be an attorney for me. So it's going to be a struggle. They've got the case open. Apparently they have got that going on. So that is good. But especially, who did it? Who do you pin it on? See, that's going to be the hard part with this case, because everybody kind of, is coming together. And what it's really going to take here is somebody to say something. In the Snopes article, it did say there was activity with the front door and the back door, people going in and out even at 2 a.m. So there was activity there. It wasn't like everybody went to sleep at 12. And there were people that left. There were people that left the party. I did just draw the devil in the reverse position. So that does definitely make me feel a very negative influence and connotation here. But this is going to be an uphill battle. because it's, to me, what it's going to take, and it could very well happen. I do have the Page of Swords. I feel that people do not want to talk. It is in a reverse position, and so is Ace of Swords. But I still have a feeling, as they still show, that somebody may actually slip up with some kind of communication. I feel like they need to probe a little bit more, in the sense that I kind of feel if they checked every single buddy's text messages. See, I don't feel they did that. I don't feel they did that. But I feel if the police officers checked everybody at the party's text messages, they may find some things incriminating. Because I note that is a communication with the Page of Swords and the Ace of Swords. That if they kind of open that door and they really investigate and get somebody who really wants to solve the case, and really determine that, I have a feeling through some kind of communication, they may have been a little clandestine, they may have been kind of covering, but I have a feel something may have been said that could kind of blow it open. But yeah, I definitely feel looking, especially for that card to show up, and then combined with the Seven of Swords, that this is not an accidental, okay, she had a little too much to drink, she went on the balcony to have a cigarette. You have to kind of crawl over a balcony, and you got to kind of, do quite a bit to fall, so I don't feel that that's what happened there. But yeah, I'm leaning more of a male, and that's kind of what I feel is I feel like people were drinking and people were having a good old time, this, that. And I feel, with the Lovers and the Two of Cups, somebody may have made some kind of advance that was unwelcome to her. And that may be the situation. But I do like the fact that in the outcome position, the Hangman is reversed. So this case was kind of stuck. It was pretty much closed for them. But with the Black Lives Matter and so forth, that really kind of blew it open. And so it's a little bit different game now, because they're starting to look at cases where maybe investigators and so forth didn't give enough attention. But now that it's in the reverse position, it's no longer suspended and just sitting there. It is going to be worked on. But yes, that's one of the things I feel, if the police officers, checked text messages, because I have a feeling in some communication, somebody may have said something over it. And if they also check bank accounts, because I have a feeling somebody paid some money, like somebody, there were still people up, regardless what they say, because there was people coming in the house at 2 a.m. So, in a matter of fact, the reason why they were kind of coming in and out was because this fall, I have a feel, took place before the 7:30. I'm not sure if they can even go back in time, but they should really investigate just how long was she passed. That's one of the things they also need to really do. But this feels very botched. The scene was compromised. So that should be a red flag right there to investigators. Why are people messing with the scene? They touched the body. They did various things. Why are they messing with the scene? Because, I know a reaction is to try to maybe go give CPR. I understand that. But still, there are certain things people kind of know better to leave alone. And that was not left alone. And then there's various things that are being said, some people, and I have a feel there may be a few people that don't really know exactly what happened. That is very possible because other people had left the party and so forth. So there are people that were out of there before anything, happened. So I do feel, I don't feel it's a mass cover up, but I do feel definitely more than one person knows. Because not only do I have the King of Swords, which makes me feel something, I also have the Queen of Swords. So I do feel at least a male and a female are very aware of what happened. Also connecting to the Page and the Ace of Swords in the reverse position per the communication. I do feel at least those two are aware of what happened to her. And it could be even the King paid off the Queen. That is a very possible thing. But I feel if they just investigate that, if they check all that out, I have a feeling they're gonna find find out some communication that people had that could really, really change this. I haven't got an answer if there'll be justice, though, or charges. That's the only thing. And I feel the reason why is because it really depends how much are they going to dig. And that's the only thing. What it's going to take is public pressure to force them to dig. Because kind of how I feel when I tune in is they would probably rather not, and they like to keep it closed, especially with all this going on in the media. They don't want to look like they were incompetent. They don't want to look like, oh, you didn't try hard enough to solve this case. You just swept it under the rug because she's African American and you've got, witnesses that are white that are saying, oh, I don't know what happened. She must have fell off the balcony. We were all drinking. They don't want that kind of press. But the thing is, if they're smart, they will just and they did reopen it. But if they're smart, they will just give it their all versus taking everybody's word for what happened that night. They have the potential to solve this case if they really do the investigation and the homework. And hopefully the autopsy, that's another thing. They need to have another set of eyes on it so they can examine the autopsy to see, well, it is kind of weird. She had abrasions and scratches and this and that. Maybe there's a few bruises there that are not necessarily consistent with the fall.